Do you carry spare gas whenever you ride? Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. I hope you all are well. I always carry spare gas whenever I'm riding. So I ride generally in the desert, more off-road than asphalt. I ride in Arizona, Nevada, Utah. I always carry spare gas, no matter if I'm on an XT250 or my KLR 650. I always have spare gas. And just for an example, if you're not familiar, northwestern Arizona, there's an area, a land area, it's called the Arizona Strip. Just in that one area, it kind of cuts off the rest of Arizona there with the Grand Canyon. This one chunk of area, which I ride in a lot, it's fantastic. It has over 4,000 miles of dirt roads. Do you think there's any gas stations out there? No. So I make it a habit of always carrying spare gas. So I've been getting the question, well, I have been getting the question for quite some time, do I carry spare gas? The answer to that is yes, of course I do. But there's some choices in how you want to carry spare gas, and I'm not a well of professional experience here, but what experience I do have is practical, especially in the tools that I use to carry spare gas, or I should say containers. So stick with me, have a watch, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It helps us out tremendously, and it is free. Let's go ahead and get started. The first method of carrying gas is to use a portable container. Obviously, that's pretty much what this video is going to be about. Some of the choices you have available today on the market. One of those choices is the Rotopacks, this here. There's this version here, and then there is the slightly less durable version called the Fuel Packs. I believe this version is just a little cheaper, 20 bucks or so cheaper. I think the Rotopacks is $60, $70. This might be $40. I can't remember off the top of my head. However, there's definitely a little difference in quality with the plastics. The Rotopacks is definitely feels a little more durable. However, in my experience with both of these containers, whether it's the Rotopacks or the Fuel Packs, they both leak. Yep, they both leak. To remedy that situation, you can just get a gas can spout replacement kit. And generally speaking, the gasket or O-ring in here typically goes bad, but because this is where the leakages occurs, around the nozzle, the opening here, and I generally keep it like this on my bike. It sits on a tail rack. Now there's two ways to install Rotopacks. You can have it sideways like that underneath, or on the underside of a pannier on either side, I guess, or it can lay flat on your tail rack. Here is an example of how I generally carry the Rotopacks. This is 1 gallon. The Fuel Packs, the other container I just showed, is 1.5 gallons. And like I mentioned, both the seals or gaskets in here have failed, and I've had to replace them, but since then they've been okay. Just be aware that more than likely the container's gonna leak eventually. And if you take a spill with the container and it bumps or grinds or anything, then it's obviously going to leak. But my experience, as I've said, is both containers will leak. So I usually attach it. I've got some strapping here that I attach to a tail rack. And then what I usually do is I'll place probably this is a medium-sized duffel bag. This will go on top of the gas container, and this usually carries like all my tools to fix spare flats and stuff like that. But the Rotopacks is, albeit its failure points, a great option for carrying extra gas. Like I said, this one is 1 gallon. The fuel packs container, 1.5 gallons. That's a decent amount of gas for your motorcycle. One thing I will point out, if you are a newbie, you want to keep the opening or spout of the container away from your hot exhaust area. I ride a KLR 650. Should I carry spare gas? My KLR 650 holds 6 gallons and gives me roughly a range of 300 miles. Absolutely, absolutely carry spare gas. For example, the Arizona Strip. If I wanted to go to a spot, there's a mountain, it's called Mount Dellenbaugh. That is roughly 100 miles on the dirt just to that point. That means it's 100 miles back, and if I decide to go in a different direction for a little exploration, 25 miles here, 50 miles there, 300 miles adds up really quick. Not to mention, what if I get lost and have to ride around for a while to figure out my way back? Yep, that's a scenario as well. And not just in Arizona, all the desert states, for example, and wherever you happen to be riding out west, in my experience, there's just dirt roads everywhere, everywhere. And to some degree, it's the same all over the country, depending on where you are and how rural you are. But carrying spare gas is just one of the things you should, I think anyway, you should carry while riding a dual sport motorcycle, not to mention extra water, a toolkit, a communication device, all these things, first aid kit, blah, blah, blah. We can go on and on, but we're talking about gas here. And I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next method to carry gas. So this container is the MSR Fuel Bottle. Generally speaking, this is something backpackers use, but you can walk into your Rocky Mountain ATV store and they've got stacks of these things on shelves. This is what I prefer carrying, and I usually carry at least 3 bottles, depending on my trip, of course. If I'm just, I do a little thinking when I'm riding for the most part. If I'm 100 miles, yeah, I'll carry 1. If it's gonna be longer than that, I'll carry more than 1. You get the idea. But I have 3 bottles, and I'll split these up between Jen and myself, or I'll carry all of them on top of a roto pack sometimes, depending on where I'm riding. But I've never experienced leaking from these bottles, and I've carried them. This is full of gas, upside down, laying like this, it doesn't matter. I think the important thing to note here is that this is a metal container. The threading is metal. I believe the cap, though, is going to be plastic, the threading in there. However, there is a gasket or O-ring that also goes in there, and you just take a little oil, wrap around that O-ring, and that creates a seal, and these things are just excellent. And another great thing about them is they can take dings. You can see this one's been dinged. They're pretty durable. I prefer these, however, you can't get, this is a 887 milliliter, 30 fluid ounce bottle here. And they come in different sizes, I'm pretty sure. So you can't carry the volume you can, let's say, with the roto packs. But these are small, you can toss one in a bag. If you're just going out for a ride somewhere, a short distance out in the mountains, the desert, wherever, these are easy, convenient, and they don't cost much. They're like 25 bucks. Well, let's just say they're under $30. I highly recommend the MSR Fuel Bottle. This is kind of like a tried and true container here. Next, however, is another fuel bottle. These definitely come in a variety of different sizes. I checked them out. This is the, what is this? The Bulin bottle. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. This is made, I'm certain, in China. Yes, I believe this comes from China. So I bought this bottle just to give it a shot and see if it held up with the MSR bottle. Generally speaking, products from China suck. I mean, as far as durability, they're crap. I mean, let's be honest here. And the price was a little cheaper than the MSR bottle, but not by much. But I like the fact that there were different sizes of this bottle. This is a 750 milliliter bottle. So this is next to the MSR bottle. This is a little smaller. Once again, metal, plastic cap, metal threading on the container itself. Then the cap here is plastic, so it'll be plastic threading. There is, as you can see, there is a rubber O-ring in there. And once again, a little bit of oil around that O-ring, tighten down, and you've got a pretty good seal. And just like with the MSR bottle, I have to admit, from everything I've tried with this bottle, I've had no leakage. So from my experience, bumping around in the desert, pulling out these things, you can drop them. They can handle impacts. I haven't had any problems with this bottle, Bulin. So can I vouch for them? I mean, I can vouch for mine. But this is just another version of the MSR bottle. And what I liked about the Bulin bottle, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is that there were a variety of sizes, like 3 or 4 different sizes. So, you know, you can get smaller ones for compact. You get the idea with here. But this is another option if you don't want to go with the MSR, and I believe both these are available on Amazon. And I mean, these are just easy to bring with you. You can slip them in a backpack, the back of your pannier. I mean, they're just small and compact. They'll go lots of places, and this could save your bacon, you know, if you run out of gas in the middle of the mountains or the desert. Next option for carrying extra gas is an aftermarket gas tank. This is my stock gas tank that I pulled off my 2023 DR650. If I get my numbers right in my head, I believe this holds 3 gallons, which roughly equated to maybe 120 miles on the DR650. I think those numbers are correct. And this is a view of my DR650 with an aftermarket Precipice 6.6 gallon gas tank. This tank is huge, which also gives me a range similar to the KLR 650 of probably around 300 miles, I'd say. And I tested it out and got that without even hitting the reserves. It is a viable option. However, there's pros and cons of anything. But if you're looking to carry extra gas, this is a viable option of switching out your stock tank to something larger. For example, on my CRF 300L, I can switch out to a larger gas tank by, I believe it's IMS. I don't know about the XT250 or the TW200. I'm thinking you can switch out tanks on a TW200. XT250, I'm not aware of any, but there may be. But that's another option for carrying extra gas, is simply replacing your stock tank with an aftermarket tank. There you have it. Another option for carrying spare gas is a secondary gas tank, plastic, that would fit, for example, on your tail rack or on your handlebars. And these aren't very large. I don't have any experience with them, but I know they are available and people do utilize them. I can't really say anything about them because, like I mentioned, I've got no experience, but it's also another option. Lastly, there is the bladder option. This is an option I don't use. So this is a liquid bladder. This is just an example. It's not, I don't use this for motorcycle riding. I use this for backpacking. I've got about 30 years of backpacking experience, and I've carried every type of bladder imaginable, and for water, for carrying water. And one thing I can say without a doubt is that every single one of the bladders failed. So fuel bladders are available by companies for motorcycle riding. Now, I don't have experience with fuel bladders while motorcycle riding. I do have experience, of course, with the water bladders, and I carry these while solo moto camping or moto camping with my wife, because a lot of times in the desert, you have to bring in your own water. There's nothing out there, and every eventual time the bladders generally do fail. Maybe not immediately, but after repeated use, they fail, and that's just with water. So if I generally carry it in the pannier bag, of course, and you know, you take a spill, if you don't have hard panniers, soft panniers out in the desert, a rock or something sharp, it's going to go through that at some point, somewhere it's going to happen. And I'm okay with water spilling everywhere. I'm not okay if it was fuel soaking everything. So I stay away from fuel bladders. That's not to say they're not good and they don't work. They just don't work for me, and I'm not really interested in, I'd much rather have something hard-sided like a Rotopax or the metal fuel bottles. But companies do make them, they do offer them, they say they're very durable. I don't have any experience with them, and I'm probably won't, unless it's like in a safe environment for traveling. If I could bring fuel bladders like in the back of my truck or something and return and gas up that way, but not on the bike with me while I'm riding out in the desert. Nah, I think that's probably the last option I'd ever go with. If any of you riders have experience with an excellent fuel bladder that you use consistently and has proven itself to be durable, by all means, leave your experience in the comments. I'd love to know about it. Carry spare gas? It's a no-brainer for me. And there's a few choices on the market to facilitate that. So folks, thank you very much for watching. Got lots more content on the way. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. It helps us out tremendously. We'll see you next time. D-Rock out. Adios.